Okay, quick disclaimer before we get started. The Blocmates podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. The information and opinions expressed on the podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Blocmates or its affiliates. Listeners are encouraged to do their own research and consult with a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Blocmates and its affiliates are not liable for any losses or damages incurred as a result of the reliance on the information or opinions expressed on this podcast.
Good morning. This is weird. Me and Grant are on the same time zone and we're even in the same villa in different rooms.
I was going to say, where you are? I recognise that room.
This is officially a good afternoon, Degen, for once. But yeah, hope everyone's good. We've got no Mike. He's on a sunbed, as will I be next week. But we're still bringing this content to you because we just don't let up, do we, Grant?
Even last week when we were both away, like literally with the furries, was churning out stuff. Yeah. No, but I will say that we've got such a great team that we can actually let them just get on with it while we're away, and we actually scheduled accordingly. So managed to churn stuff out even if we were away.
Not yet. The way you like pause there.
I had to be careful what I was saying.
Yeah. Well, I might give too much away, but fuck it. So look, right, straight into prices and flows. Granted, we haven't done these, but I'm still going to run off the last 24 hours. So Bitcoin is at 29,489. It's down 0.8%. ETH is down 0.5% at 1,849. Total market cap is down slightly at 1.22 trillion. That's from the last episode, by the way. Binance inflows up across the board, daily plus 30 mil, weekly plus 309 mil, and monthly plus 1.83 billion. And fear and greed is up at 6%. I'll just turn my calendar off so we're not getting that audio. And one thing just to keep an eye on as well is Base has had over 57 million in TVL in less than a week. Do you want to touch on that before we go into the news and stuff?
It's always one to watch when people are bridging when there's without there actually being a front end bridge UI and just a contract to send ETH to. So, but now I think of yesterday the bridge is officially open, the Coinbase bridge for Base, and there's a few other little interesting ones where you can. I'd have to get the correct URL and I'll try and leave it in the description, but you're effectively being able to mint an NFT on Ethereum and then they'll send you the ETH that you've used to mint on Base. So as soon as signups and Stargate and shit like that starts integrating, I can imagine the floodgates will probably open. But impressive. Just every other chain must be looking at it and just thinking, yeah, we might have a little contender on our hands here. So, but it's good to see.
Yep. Right. Okay. News. So first thing, Curve.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of the fallout was happening just before we left, around 10 days ago, when some of their Viper code base was exploited. A couple of pools were drained, and I think it was over 70 odd million in ETH was drained out. And then it kind of. It's one of those things where it's weird. Everyone knew it was going on with regards to like their founders' on-chain loan or leverage position, however you want to kind of think about it, where he's effectively depositing his CRV ownership into numerous lending and borrowing protocols and then borrowing stablecoins against it. And what's kind of funny is months and months before that, there was this kind of expose about him buying these like ridiculous mansions in Australia, which... If anyone can read between the lines, if he's taking a USDC or USDT loan against his CRV position, one, he's not creating a tax generation event, so he can take that money into the real world and then just go and spend it however he wants. But there was also this, it's kind of funny to think about how this has all kind of transpired, because around a similar sort of time, there was a couple of venture funds that had been complaining, and I think they even like took legal proceedings that the fact that they didn't get the allotted amount of CRV that they were expected to following like their initial early investment in Curve. So there's no smoke without fire with these kind of things, and I just think these kind of things always come around in a roundabout way. But everyone's knew that on-chain position was there for a very, very long time. And now you've started to see him kind of offload a lot of his CRV to some like big names in the space, big funds, big market makers and things like that, paying down the loan. But then again, he's opened another position on Cream Finance. And if anyone knows Cream Finance, it's been exploited 1,000,001 times. And it's right. I think it's owned by a less than savory character, and I'll kind of just leave it on that. But what I've actually got here, Al, is I'm going to bring up his DBank profile.
Yeah.
Just let me know when you can see that. So anyone wants to see it, just type in MICH Will, so Mitch Will, and the ENS should come up. So there's 188.5 million dollars on chain. He's got 14 million in CRV just held bare. On RVV2, he's deposited $100 million worth of Curve and borrowed 25 million USDT against it. That was a lot higher of recently. I think that was potentially kind of, he was borrowing a third of what he deposited, so he's paid down that quite a bit. Oh, actually, he's still at that ratio, so ignore what I've just said there. He's got a shitload vesting that unlocks 2024, 12th of August. Funny. 27 for the 2027, that next one, 16 million still locked, farming a shitload of CRV USD and all that kind of good stuff. He's also got 38 million CRV deposited into Frax Lend, and then he's borrowed Frax $40 million worth of Frax against that. Health factor on that's 1.99. He's on Inverse Finance as well, where he's deposited 18 million, nearly 19 million CRV and borrowed $7.6 million against that. Health factor 1.59. He's got some CVX CRV again, effectively the convex derivative of it, borrowed against that again. Some Y curve that he's deposited a yearn and then took Y curve receipt effectively. That's a pretty small position, all things considered. And then this recent position that he's opened on Cream, 13 million CRV, near enough $8 million USD value, and borrowed 2 million against it with a health factor of 2.23, and then a couple of CRV positions in stake down, quite a lot of, well, not a lot of convex, but he's like leveraged to the tits, just like deposited in all these protocols, obviously earning the yield off it, and then if he wants to take those stables and off ramp them. And what's interesting is if he had the dollars to actually pay down the debt and like just unwind the position, then he'd go ahead and do that. But what looks like is happening is that he's actually offloading a load of CRV to players in the space that one, have a vested interest in the success of Curve, which we all should have. I'm not like saying this is a bad thing or a good thing. Like, Curve's paramount for DeFi to succeed, I think. But as soon as like there's a magnifying glass on something, everything just quickly unravels.
Yeah. Cool. Do you know what we've missed, which I kind of bulldozed straight into this? We probably missed some more fun bit at the start, where we asked people if they wanted us to cover anything in particular. And Grant's just absolutely give you a load of good shit on the Curve thing there. But Baz, and we do like Baz, because he's from Bumper and we're big fans of Bumper, he did ask for any stories from the Stag Do, which we could probably do a bit of a segue, because we do have a couple, maybe not all appropriate, but I don't know. Do you want to tell it, or do you want me to kind of give a top line overview of what went down over in Thailand?
I'm gonna drop you in it here.
Yeah, fine, okay.
So Alex hasn't came back unscathed. He's actually broke his foot. I'd love to say that it was from like him hanging off like a stripper pole by his bum flaps or something like that, and he fell and broke his foot. But he actually just fell on the pavement effectively and broke his foot. So he was getting scooted to the opposite side of the island in the back of it's called an ambulance. I don't really think it's an ambulance getting thrown all over. An ambulance. Yeah. And then Mike left with him to like make sure he's okay. And then like Mike actually came back more drunk than he left. So God knows what he's been up to in that hospital.
Yeah, well, he had one of those buckets that you get on the beach, and we were hurtling up Koh Phangan in the back of, I don't even know how to describe it, a golf cart at about 90 mile an hour, drinking a bucket. After I suffered what is probably like the most nana injury of all time. Like, you know, when your grandma like falls over and shatters every bone in her body, and you're like, how does this happen? Similar to me. So yeah, I've got a moon boot on, but maybe anything else would probably be a bit inappropriate because we are professionals at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I might post a photo of my one of my attire or get up that you put me all in, depending on. I'll have a flick through, see if it's like appropriate. But
mate, did you see my face there? I just paused. I was like, "What's he just gonna say?" Oh man, whatever. But anyway, sorry. Back to the serious stuff. So PayPal has obviously announced its stablecoin, which is big news.
Yeah, well, they've always been sniffing around it. They had.
I hate PayPal, by the way, for the record, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to tell like a little short story on PayPal. So when I was like 15, I was importing like footy equipment from China and selling it on eBay. And obviously PayPal and eBay are extremely closely related. And they just like put a complete blanket ban on my PayPal, which is still banned to this day. So as soon as I seen this Bitcoin thing come around, which is completely censorship resistant, like it completely resonated, and immediately I was just thinking of those fucking PayPal guys. I absolutely hate those fuckers. They think they're like the gatekeepers of the internet with their money and shit like that. And I've always seen them sniffing around. Like first they implemented purchase Bitcoin and like ETH, I think, and then they actually implemented like this wallet where you can actually send it and receive it. And now they seem to have just gone full hog and released this centralized stablecoin, which is probably going to look like a USDT, USDC. So I think what they've done is look at how much money Tether and USDC and Circle have been printing over the past year with the interest rate on T-bills, and then just say, well, we want a piece of that. So people can probably mint the PYUSD from them. Their dollars sit on their balance sheet. They put the dollars to work. They could even like integrate it into 1,000,001 different apps with like a small saving rate where they're just going to take a little spread on that as well. So I for one wouldn't fucking touch it with a barge pole given past experience. That's not to say USDT or USDC couldn't like blacklist, because they do, and they're not exactly aggressive, but they will do it. But these guys, I think, you'd be dancing with the devil, I think.
Yeah. And sort of just to wrap it up, and I know there was a couple of other things requested, but I'd be lying if I said anything other than we've been too out of the loop to give you any sort of decent juice on them. But the one story that obviously the gods have ditched Polygon is something that we can probably shoot from the hip on. I know Grant is going to be less than complimentary. But yeah, we did get one question from someone asking, what do we think of that? I just feel like I want to load the gun and let you fire on that one, Grant.
Yeah, I just think he's a fucking idiot anyway. Like the Frank Hughes. Is he a young lad? He's obviously did extremely well with DGods being on Solana during the whole NFT craze on Solana hype cycle. He's jumped ship at the first sign of like Solana weakness, because Polygon have probably fucking BD'd him to death, and by BD'd him to death, just give him a shitload of money whilst they're laying the staff off. Then he's realized that no one uses fucking Polygon in its current form. I think it will get there eventually, but I'm quite intrigued by ZK AVM. But I think he's probably took that payday, realized no one's actually buying shit. He put like a 30% taxation on people who weren't migrating over to Polygon with the NFTs and shit like that. So he's had his community jumping through hoops effectively, and now he's gone to the king, which is Ethereum. He's not going to get any fucking grants from them, but I'd like to see what he's going to do with the royalties. I can imagine royalties are going to increase, volume will probably increase, and he's probably sensed a bit of blood in the water with a lot of the Zukis falling flat on the face. Bored Ape look like they're imploding by the day. But for me, like, just a bit of a cash grab in the end. Like you can dollar up in any
Yeah.
which way you want, but like suck a fart.
Suck a fart. And I reckon that's us back in and out in less than 15 minutes. What do you think?
We did it all without the 6 dogs barking as well. We'd have both been
which is
kind of out of there as well.
We didn't get off to a good start. Like I will say, before we started rolling, I thought this is going to be like good morning Degen in the dog kennel, but we did make it through. So we've got some pretty exciting stuff coming out, I'd say, in the next few weeks and months. As I said, the summer months we've kind of been here, there, and everywhere. But that's sort of all I'll say on that, really, because pretty excited about it. And I'm just going to actually leave it at that and be as vague as possible.
It's like what an NFT, like what Frank from Degen would do, like an announcement of an announcement.
Yeah, I absolutely fucking hate that as well, and I'm just inadvertently done it. But it's because you told me like 20 minutes before we came on. That's why. So I'm like mentally prepared myself. Yeah. I'm just like that's sick. So
it's a good
one. If anyone is still listening, thanks for that. As always, subscribe to the newsletter. I know you're all asking about LARP Quest 4, which we will get onto. Just bear with us while we're still getting our feedback on the ground, and please leave Dan alone as well, because the poor guy's DMs are absolutely exploding. So
he's taking a week off. You've actually put him on the sick. Everyone's put him on like the sick.
Yeah, so just leave Dan alone, please, and we will have shit on LARP coming very soon.
One final thing from me. I think I'd have rush of blood to the head when I was kind of coming back around from being away. Is anyone who's into the fantasy football as well, we're going to release a Blockmates League tonight. We'll just push it public. I don't really care. And we'll put a little prize up on there as well to keep it interesting. And we'll open a FPL channel in Discord as well. So come get battered by me all season, then I'll actually just not send the money and just keep the money myself.
At least we're honest from the outset. Like,
I'll be fucking bottom all season.
Oh god, I just can't. Disclaimer: I will not be doing it. I'll lose interest after the first 3 weeks of the season. So, but I definitely would win. But you'll never know whether that's true or not. So I'm not going to play. So right, okay, 17 minutes and out. Thanks for listening.
See you
on the next one.